Powered by Righteous Media.
Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to episode 384. I'm your host, Paul Rieckhoff. It is Friday, November 28th. I hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving. It is a time to be thankful, and I hope that good vibe carries over. I hope the trip at the bend from the turkey is carrying over. I hope you got the day off. And if you don't, I am especially thankful to you, to all our first responders, all our military, all our cops and firefighters, EMTs, all of you who work in hospitals on Thanksgiving, all of you that were working yesterday and are working today and working throughout the weekend. I just want to give you a special thank you and a shout out and let you know that I am especially thankful for your service and for your leadership, because that's a theme we talk about all the time on this show. It is Friday, November 20th. I am coming to you from New York City, USA. Thanksgiving is gone in a blur, and we are clicking into the Christmas season. The holiday season is here. I hope that brings us some good vibes, because after all the recent news, we're going to need it. I am especially always reflecting on what the brave people of Ukraine are enduring every single day. Even on Thanksgiving, even over the holidays, Putin continues his criminal attacks, hitting civilians, hitting cities. And that needs to end. And especially this holiday season, I am hopeful for peace in Ukraine. It is supposed to be the season of peace and the season of joy. And we will bring that to you throughout this December and into 2026. And as a special holiday gift, an early holiday gift, I am going to give you one of my favorite conversations, a replay with a guy who brings a special kind of leadership. He is a world-renowned actor. He's a real tough guy. In a time where there are a lot of folks, especially in Washington, pretending to be tough guys. My old friend Jon Bernthal is a real tough guy. He's a father. He's a creative. He's a patriot. He cares deeply about this country and about this community. And back in 2021, we talked about everything from The Punisher to Ford versus Ferrari to The Walking Dead to America at a Crossroads. I think that Jon Bernthal is a really, really important voice. It's at the intersection of culture and is going to win an Oscar one day. I know Bernthal for, almost 20 years now. We go way back before he became a big superstar. And I've been honored and excited to see his rise. And I think he's a guy who keeps it real. It's the kind of conversation I want to continue to bring you. I hope Bernthal will come back. This is a couple years ago, but you all have told me it's one of your favorite conversations, and it's definitely one of mine. So on this special Friday, I've got a great replay of this awesome conversation with a guy who's always bringing it, a guy who's always keeping it real, and a guy who is always staying vigilant. The great, iconic Jon Bernthal. Here it is. I hope you enjoy it. And stay vigilant, folks. Stay vigilant. Ladies and gentlemen, independent Americans around the country and around the world. There's wild times in America and in the world, and I am so excited and happy to bring us a leader, a friend, an iconic, important, inspiring American that I have known and been in contact with I think, for 2 decades now. A man that I respect, a man that I admire, a man that gives me energy and has a contagious positivity around everything he does. Always looks great, always sounds great. And he's really going to bring the best of himself to this. I know it. The great and powerful Jon Bernthal is finally here on Independent Americans.
Man, it is a real honor, man. It is a real honor to be with you, brother.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I was thinking about what to wear.
Yeah.
Because I knew you were going to come up with something. And folks can watch the video, but you got a Crenshaw black sweatshirt on and a black Scully hat thing that you can pull off because you're a movie star and you look cool.
That, man. You got to understand the Scully. I mean, it's like the hair is such a problem, and this was a gift from Nipsey himself, which I cherish. But man, when the pandemic started, I was in the middle of shooting 3 things. And I had a big giant mustache, which I just was able to shave. And my wife wouldn't make out with me. My kids were tugging on it the whole time, and so I'm just loud and proud, showing my shaved face. That's all.
You look sharp, man, as always. Cry me a river about your hair problems. So I got to ask, what is you have a very interesting painting or work of art behind you, Mr. Bernthal. What is that?
I have absolutely no idea, man. I'm in the back of my house. I'm in, we moved up to Ojai, California. And this is, I think my wife put that up, but I don't know. You like it? I'll let her know that you like it.
I like it. I like, I'm a massive fan, I've been, so let's do that. So you and I have known each other or been in touch. I was trying to figure it out because it was before 9/11, I think, because before 9/11, I was living with some guys that you knew from growing up in DC, and you were like in their extended friend group. Right. So it was like Danny and Teddy and then all these other guys. And you went to the same high school as my best friend, Todd, now Sutler, used to be Todd Darden. Yep. But we've been in touch now, I think, for it's almost 20 years, right, man? Yeah.
I mean, it's that same sort of group. And I just have to say, I mean, look, man, I've been such an admirer of yours for such a long time. I was really when you your service to this country in so many different ways has inspired me, and I looked at you and the choices that you made, and I think where it's culminating right now and what you're doing right now, it's something we've talked about before. I absolutely believe in people who have walked the walk and then have the experience and the empathy and the compassion and the wisdom to then talk about it. And that is you, man. And I think that you are sort of exactly where you're supposed to be right now. You're such an important figure. And for me, knowing where you came from those 20 years, when you read the book and you got back everything that you've done, I've just been such an admirer from afar. I think there's something about the age that we are now and that we're fathers now, and look at the kind of guys, our contemporaries and the guys that we came up with, we're starting to look where we sort of fell in, and now it's time to kind of re-engage and do more. And our job now is not about us. Our job is about these kids and about the next generation. And I feel like we're smack in the middle of it. And so I don't know, man, I'm just, I continue to be sort of blown away by you, man.
Humbled by all of that. I think what's starting to happen is there's this Super Friends network, right? And I've always said I want Righteous Media to be that. I wanted IAVA to be that. I want to bring people together who are fighting the forces of ignorance and stupidity. And we're greatly outnumbered, right? So we're kind of we're all activists, we're parents, we're leaders, we're writers. You're a genius creative. Bringing us together around the common issues has always been, I think, important, but right now is so important. But on a personal level, I remember when you were first starting out. I mean, the first things you were getting, before I was at, before 9/11, before I got activated, before I went in the Army, I think I was still in the National Guard working in finance. And, you would be around the guys and telling football stories from high school, right? And to watch your rise and your grind and to see you go from where you've gone to where you are and doing it the way you have with integrity, with toughness, dude, you are one of the hardest working guys I know in an industry that requires hard work. So I think that example has really, really been important. And now seeing you transition into fatherhood, you've been an inspiration to me and so many others. But let me take a pause and ask you, tell folks, Jon Bernthal, where are you? And how are you? The pandemic's been hard, right? And I think especially hard for you and your family. Where are you and how are you, man?
So look, I'm in Ojai, California, which is a small town in the mountains about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles. We moved up here about 6 years ago. I started on Walking Dead really right when I got married and I started having kids, and I got extremely busy. As you know, it was a long grind and a long time where things really weren't working out for a long time. And when I got Walking Dead, I got really, really busy, really, really fast. And I was really only home about 2 weeks a year. And it was getting to the point where, I was living in Venice Beach. I had my brothers in Venice Beach. I had my foster brothers in Venice Beach. I had my people from DC, and it was great, but we really needed to put a microscope on our family, and our time needed to be sacred. So we moved out here. And it was a wonderful decision. And in ways, I think with the pandemic, it's been, it's small town country living, man. It's very isolated. We grow a lot of our own stuff. We're right into the national forest. I grew up in a city. I was a total city kid growing up. My kids ride dirt bikes. They catch snakes. They're feral animals, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I love it. But we really spent a lot of this time, especially in the beginning, I felt kind of isolated and protected, which was wonderful. I think along the same lines, right off the jump, my cousin Adam Schlesinger is a wonderful musician, singer, and songwriter for Fountains of Wayne. He wrote That Thing You Do, the Tom Hanks movie, just this prolific genius musician. He died from COVID right off the jump in New York. Father of two and young, healthy man. So this thing became unbelievably real for us right off the jump. And I think that was those two opposing things. I had, I think, as you know, as a dad, I think that there's, I think that, fatherhood is the hardest and most important job that we're going to have. And I think one of the key elements is it's impossible to get it right. You're going to mess up, and you got to admit it when you mess up. You got to own it. And the kids, you need to have the honesty and that needs to be a part of it, that dad will mess up. And I'm constantly questioning, are we getting this right? Because here we are, we're being protected, but at the same time, the world is really suffering. And I think, putting adversity into the kids' lives and for the kids to sort of see in reality what's going on is tremendously important. So I've had these two things at play. I think, one of my best friends in the world, Dougie Thornell, who, he lost his dad to COVID. Being from DC and coming from that world, DC got hit really hard. Our ties are to the East Coast. So I've had these two things really, I'm sorry, that's such a long ass answer, a short ass question, but I've had these two things really sort of pulling, we are doing great. We're here. I'm back to work. Things are awesome. But this has been unbelievably hard on the world, on this country, and on our family.
I think that perspective is why I value you as a friend, and why I think folks who know you value your perspective, and why you thrive as an artist, man. Like you have a way of understanding and feeling and processing and then interpreting and communicating back, not just your experience, but broader experiences, collective experiences, other people's experiences. So I think, hearing your perspective is really, really important, because I think we're kind of losing the plot sometimes. We're so focused on what's happening in Washington or what's happening in celebrity land, right? That people are forgetting to talk about parenting and talk about family and talk about health. And so there's been that recentering. And you play a lot of these characters, Jon, that are really unique, and a lot of them are tough. A lot of them are eccentric, right? But you have a way of bringing your special sauce to everything you do. So you're staying on DC. Our mutual friend, Teddy Sears, who has also been tremendously successful, is a great actor, a great person. He tells me that when he started in LA, he had nowhere to stay. You were starting out, you were in LA a little bit ahead of him. You gave him a place to stay, you gave him a spare car, and you let him stay with him for weeks. But you were generous. And you have that generosity and that inclusivity around everything that you do. But let's go back to when you and Thornell and all these other guys were in DC. Jon Bernthal, what was your first car?
Oh man, first car, the Mazda 323, 1992 Mazda 323, stick shift, no air conditioning, no radio. Dougie Thornell had this little sticker clock that he posted. We duct tape on the dashboard, and then we got this little white boom box that we bungee taped right behind the little stick shift. But I'll tell you what, man, I had a Don't Mess with Texas. I had no idea why I had that, but like growing up in DC, being a hip hop guy and a go-go guy, for some reason I wanted a Don't Mess with Texas sticker, and I guess I was a little into country music back then too. I had a WZQ.
What would Waylon Jennings do? Or you have one of those, right? You're
all about Waylon. Yeah, my son's named after him. Yeah, I'm all about Waylon. Yeah, but yeah, man. I mean, that was the greatest car. I mean, I set land speed records in that car. I mean, it was unbelievable. I loved that car. It was just the fastest little thing in the world, and yeah, I loved it.
I knew that answer wouldn't disappoint. What color was the car, Bernthal?
Black,
of course.
Yeah, black little two-door. Yep.
And you had that sticker on that car for the same reason I did, because I grew up in New York, and I was like, it's kind of badass, the attitude from Texas, right?
Don't Mess with Texas is all about an anti-litter campaign. You know what I mean? And that's what it was. And I thought it was the coolest. I thought it was so awesome, and I just thought I was such a little badass. And yeah, man, I loved that car.
So we're going to jump around and get to a lot of things, but I wanted to ask you this because it's happening, I believe, this month. You grew up in D.C. You're connected to D.C. It looks like we're going to have a vote in Congress on D.C. statehood. D.C. could finally become our 51st state. It's something I've talked with. I had David Aldridge on the show. I had Susan Rice on the show. I've been a supporter of this. I think its time has come. But as somebody who grew up in D.C. and is so connected to it, a proud son of D.C., Bernthal, what's your thoughts on statehood?
Look, man, I think it's long overdue. I think, the thing about, growing up in Washington, especially at the time that I did, I wouldn't change it for the world. And it's one of the most diverse cities in the world. It's unbelievable. There's a culture to the real DC that people don't know about. There's music that only is in DC, that has no aspirations to get out of DC, that is central to the cultural fabric of the city. There's a vernacular to that city. There's so much soul and energy to that city, but anybody who grew up there also understands that there's just unbelievable, there's a hypocrisy with growing up in that city that you're faced with every day, especially if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s. You had this sort of central part of this city that everybody visits in 8th grade, that's protected land, and that's federal land, and that's policed by the Capitol Police. There's no litter, there's no garbage, but we all remember, taking going 2 or 3 blocks in any direction from that area, you had a completely different city and a forgotten city. You could see, the soup kitchen that we volunteered at every week in my school was Martha's Table. You could see the Capitol building, you could see the Washington Monument, but there was such it was so clear that there were 2 precise different DCs. And when it snowed, there wasn't the state funding. We'd get an inch of snow, we'd be closed down for a week because it just wasn't. You could feel it; it was palpable. And the schools finally are starting to come back a little bit. But when we were growing up, it was a mess. And I think you have this. You're sitting there among the most powerful people on the planet, yet you're in this city where you have all these people that feel unrepresented and forgotten. And yeah, I think it's about time.
Well said. Early episode of this show, we went into some of the parks in DC and interviewed homeless people that were like living, in the parks a block away from Trump's hotel, blocks away from DC. And, there's always that line, taxation without representation. So you grew up in a place where you can serve in the military, you're paying taxes, but you can't, really be fully represented in a representative government, right? So I think, it seems like it's coming. It feels like this is going to be the time. And I think that's good for America. A lot of what you've been doing is good for America, right? You've been representing these or portraying or embodying some of these iconic people. Like you played Lee Iacocca, right? In the Ford versus Ferrari movie, which I loved. You were in Fury and the Pacific, and a lot of roles where you played veterans, and you did a brilliant job of it. But Punisher has been front and center for the last few years. As somebody who grew up as a Punisher fan, I think I texted you when you got it. And I was like, yes, like you are the guy who can get this right? Because I grew up reading the comic books. I knew the story. I knew the Vietnam backstory, right? And it's part of what shaped my childhood. And then you got this part and you crushed it in a way that I think will live forever. And the icon becomes this cannibalized thing in the last year, to the point where insurrectionists have the Punisher symbol on their shirt when they're taking the Capitol. You've been very outspoken. You've been a great voice on so much of this, but this was a really powerful intersection of your life in your hometown, where, in my view, terrorists tried to take over our government. You've talked about it a bit, but Jon, what are your thoughts on that? And on the insurrection itself, as much as you're comfortable with talking about?
Yeah, man. Look, listen, I think the fact that, you reached out when you did, about playing that part and how much that just kind of meant to me. Look, one of the things that I just cherish more than anything else is the relationships that I've been able to make with folks that have really opened up to me and talked to me about their experiences in an intimate way, especially when they're talking about their service and when they're talking about serving overseas. And, to me, the fact that you just said, you read that comic and there's something about reading a comic, and I don't want to. it requires so much of your own imagination because it's just frames and it's art, and you've got to put so much of yourself in there. And the fact that that might have led you to service, that's a real thing. The fact that there are people that have gone and fought for this country, and the fact that there are people who have gone and walked the walk that keeps all of us free, and that have some taken the last walk of their life with that insignia, on their battle armor, and that somehow filled them with courage, and that somehow inspired them in some way is just so humbling and staggering, and such an unbelievable, to me, a responsibility. And I'm so honored to even be associated with that. And I think to the same degree, I'm just so disgusted and horrified how that can be bastardized and taken in a different direction. I think that there's, I don't know. I think my job is really to empathize with people, and my job is to really try to understand where people are coming from. I truly believe that no matter what your political views are, no matter who you are, I truly believe we love our kids. I truly believe that we all want the best for each other. I have to believe in that. How folks could have gone and done what they did on that day, it's just something I can't wrap my head around. And it's the fact that symbol is at all tied into that is something I'm horrified by and disgusted with. And, I think it's so, right now we're so unbelievably divided on things. I think, unfortunately, we're just listening to people, sort of the tenacity of your voice and how loud you are and how fervent you are, and the sort of the volume of your bombast is what sort of is what's drawing attention right now. And it's all about, flag waving and rhetoric and bullshit. And I truly believe that people, again, who have walked the walk, people who have actually been in combat, people who have actually sacrificed, people who have actually lost, that's really what that symbol is about. That's it. And I think people who have actually sort of been in that valley understand that it's about proximity. It's about people coming together. It's not about drawing apart. And everything that happened on January 6th, all that was it was about divisiveness and pushing people away.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been really thoughtful in how you communicate this, because it's such a tricky thing. It's like, Frank Castle, right? The Punisher is kind of, the show used to be called Angry Americans. He's like the ultimate angry American, right? And there's that vigilante that could go toward the side of good or can go toward the side of bad, right? And he, in a time where everything is getting kind of co-opted, and that symbol was co-opted in the same way the insurrectionists co-opted the American flag, right? Like they were carrying that when they were going up there too. But I think you're at this really unique spot in our culture, Jon, where you can talk to a lot of different kinds of people. Right? Like, people of all backgrounds love The Walking Dead, love The Punisher, love everything you've done. And you continue to play really uniquely tough people, I think is one way I describe it. And we were talking about parenting. I talked to my son about toughness, and I said to him something like, being tough doesn't make you brave, but being brave makes you tough. Because I don't want him to be stupid, right? Like, I don't want him to just, bang his head against the wall to show how tough he is, right? It's like when we played football, the guy's like, I'm not going to drink water. Well, that's stupid tough, right? But doing the right thing, being a good dad, maybe being soft, being sensitive, being empathetic, that's the right kind of bravery and the right kind of toughness. So I think we're exploring in our country what that means right now, especially after Trump, where now Biden just this week was very sensitive with the children of a fallen officer in DC. We're kind of re-examining what it means to be American, what it means to be tough. You're also like maybe one of the most interesting guys out there. I think you speak Russian, or you lived in Russia. You've played these amazing parts. You love Pitbulls. Your uncle is Kurt Angle. You got these amazing, interesting parts that feed into who you are. But let me ask you, what maybe is relevant right now. Where do you see our country? Like, this is a big question for you, but you take on big issues all the time because you've played so many roles that are iconic, that shape what this country looks like to the world. Where do you think our country is right now, and how do you feel about the future? Knowing, I'll add one point you told me before we went live, you're getting the vaccine today, the second shot today. So how do you feel about where we are as a country and where we're going?
Listen, look, I think it's your job. I'm hopeful. I think we have to be. I'm a father and I'm a husband first. And I think I hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And I really try to instill that into my kids. Listen, I think I think, I don't want to look backwards, but I think when you just look at when you think about who was in office before, when you think about President Trump, whatever your politics are, whether you're into him or you're not, the thing that I could never really understand was that this man who to me clearly had never fought for anything, had not really grinded for anything, had not served, did not show compassion, had this sort of monopoly somehow on toughness and patriotism, and how somehow we thought his whole thing was he's one of the tough guys, and how so many people I know who are family members of mine who are genuinely tough, genuinely strong people kind of went that way, where I feel like if that same guy walked into a bar, they would laugh at it. He would literally be a clown. He would be like, look at you, look at how you lived your life. And I think that, when you talk about like the Punisher and the previous question that we were talking about, at the core of Frank Castle is this unbelievable hurt. It's this unbelievable loss. He lost his family. And, with everything that's going on with the struggles with law enforcement right now, with our foreign policy, look, we've got to find a place. We all just went through and are going through this worldwide thing. And especially like in our country, we dealt with this. We have got to find empathy. We've got to find empathy. We've got to find compassion. We have got to really, like you said about toughness, it does not make you strong to say it's me versus you. To me, there's nothing more patriotic. There's nothing more masculine. There's nothing more strong than saying, you know what, man, you and me, we might not agree on everything, but like I can sit down with you. I'm an American. You're an American. Let me learn from you, man. Maybe I could teach you something. Maybe we'll arrive at something together. But there's nothing strong. There's nothing courageous about saying, I'm going to stick with my team and you're going to be over there. It's everything we tell our kids, man. Like go find the guy who's struggling. Go lift him up. Go sit with the kid who's left out, who doesn't have any. It's the same thing you'd say to your kids. And I think whatever your politics are, when I look at President Biden, I look at what kind of man he is, when I look at the loss that he's had, the life that he's lived, the mistakes that he's made, the mistakes that he's admitted, I say, look, this is a man who understands compassion. He's a man who understands empathy. And at the end of the day, I think that's precisely what we need. And whether we admit it or not, I think we're hungry for it. I think our country is hungry for it. I think our culture is hungry for it. And I think that like true people who have really, again, walked the walk, and the people that I've been lucky enough to know and befriend, and guys who have served, members of law enforcement, athletes, fighters, what they know is that, the guy who talks the talk, the guy who's wearing the most colorful clothes, the guy with the loudest voice, that's not the one. It's the one who shakes your hand and looks you in the eye and can sit down with you. That's what we need to sort of aspire to. And so I think that the hopeful about our country, and I think we're hungry, and I think that we just need to sort of redefine what patriotism and masculinity is. And I think that I think we're going to get there. I really do.
I do too. And I think it's in part because of voices like yours. Like you are in a really powerful position at this intersection of a lot of American culture, right? Like when you look across your career, how many different like American culturally defining things you've done and you will be doing. You're in the new Venus and Serena project, right? Like these other things that are going to touch American culture in different ways. You talked about the heroes around you. Your wife is a nurse, right? She's a hero. And my mom is a nurse. My sister, I grew up in a family of nurses. So we see that kind of heroism. But I want to ask you a question I forgot to ask you earlier, taking a big step back. Bernthal, what's your drink of choice? I didn't ask you this. Your drink, or now we're talking about smoke. We had a whole episode on cannabis. You can go anywhere you want with this, but what's your drink or recreational thing of choice?
Man, I'm gonna go with a good sativa marijuana, man. I stopped, drinking in me. The old Jon Bernthal that you knew from back in the day. Look, man, I know it's a light question, but I think for me, the whole thing is about kind of finding yourself and finding what works. Alcohol and me did not work. I think that a big part of the projects that I pick and the way that I want to live my life going forward, and the decisions that I make and how I raise my kids now are sort of shaped by the fact that I made a lot of mistakes growing up, a lot of mistakes, and I screwed up a lot. And I'm sure, a lot of the guys that we were friends with sort of, have told you the stories. The fact of the matter is that I had this unbelievable family around me. I had this unbelievable support structure. I lived a life where I had friends and family who got my back, supported me. And that is a real privilege. And that is the only reason why I'm here. And there are so many people in this country who just didn't have that, who made the same mistakes that I did and that don't have that. And I really do feel this unbelievable responsibility now to try to reach out with anything that I can have, any sort of reach that I have, to try to help people who didn't have that same privilege and who made these mistakes. And even if it's just as simple as in the characters that I play, not to sound too grandiose, but to say, like, let's not define each other by the mistakes we made. And I think it's important that we look at that politically too. Let's see if we can get past some of that stuff and try to define people and judge people by the look in their eye and the decisions they make, not by something that they did in their past.
I am so glad you went there. And it was a couple of different places that you took us, but it's really, really important because you've been strong and vulnerable in talking about your past. I have tried to do the same thing. I made so many fucking mistakes when I was growing up, and I was getting into trouble in ways that could have gone either way. And you and I have both had those situations where it could have gone either way, and we'd be maybe in a jail cell or in a cemetery or something else, but we, figured a way through it and are now on the other side, hopefully, and able to inform others. The cannabis discussion is a part of that, right? Like us being able to openly talk about that. I'm with you on that. Like alcohol does not work as well with me, especially when I'm older, as cannabis. It just beats my body down. So we're talking about how we deal with our bodies, how we deal with our emotions, how we deal with our work in a time where it's really important to open up and share and be vulnerable. And along those lines, man, it used to be called Angry Americans. I want to ask you this question because I can't have you on and not ask. Everybody, has emotion right now. There's a lot of anger in this country, especially with the Floyd trial going on and other things happening. But you're a guy who's channeled that anger into positive impact. Your life is kind of a demonstration of figuring out how to take that energy and put it into something positive. But we're all a little angry still, and that's understandable. Jon Bernthal, what makes you angry?
I think, I just closed-mindedness, making decisions before you've experienced things. Again, I just think that I think it's so easy now with the echo chambers that we live in and the isolation that we've been sort of forced to kind of experience, to just sort of make up our minds and close off. And I think it's unbelievably dangerous. It just literally brings out the worst in all of us. I think we just need to open up. I think we need to redefine what we think of as courage. I think, again, it's just like the example you use with your kids, man. Courage is not about this. I think courage is about this. I think courage is about sitting down, opening up, seeking out people that are being different. I think, look, you brought up, what's going on with law enforcement right now and with George Floyd. And I think there are too many people who are just operating in this unbelievable chasm of fear. And look, when you're talking about, there are unbelievable members of law enforcement. There are people that I know, friends that I have, people that I grew up with, who are the best of the best. There are parts of the institution of law enforcement, the best about it. There's so, community policing, unbelievable courage, unbelievable brotherhood, unbelievable honor. And then there's people who are walking around and they're afraid. And I think we've got to get to the bottom of why we are so freaking afraid of each other. Yeah. And we've got to start breaking that down. And why, a young Black man in this country just fills people with so much fear. And look, it's just clear. Not everybody grew up the same way. A lot of people grew up in different places, but it's time in the box, spending time with each other, really understanding that, again, we all love our families. We all want what's best for our families. We all want a good life for each other, and opening up and stop pushing each other away.
I love that. For the folks that were listening and not watching, when you said something like, it's about this, not this. It's about this, not this. You were saying an open hand, not a closed hand, right? Which I think is so powerful. If you came up with that, you got to put that on a shirt or something. Film, I don't know, but that was really powerful, because I think it's right, especially as we watch and analyze police tactics, because there was an accidental discharge where they called it an accidental discharge, where the cop grabbed for her her gun instead of her taser. We say in the military, there are no accidental discharges. You're always responsible and you have to show restraint. We couldn't pull guns out on people in the way cops can when we were in Iraq. So it's about, strength through vulnerability and recognizing that leadership is sometimes about sacrifice. And you've been doing that. You've been guiding people through it. You also bring this positivity, man. I love it. Every time I hear you talk, you motivate me. We talk about the grind, and you're in this place where I think you're one of the finest actors of our time. I want to see you win lots of awards for decades, and you're going to do lots of great projects, and you have this grounding with your family, but you have this light about you where you bring light instead of heat. So Jon Bernthal, what makes you happy?
Oh man, so much makes me happy. I'm unbelievably blessed, brother. I think about kind of where I came from, and I was a guy that, for better or for worse, I really was sort of defined by my mistakes. I was totally the black sheep. I loved playing sports. I was pretty good, but not quite good enough. I was a troublemaker, but I feel like I wasn't even really good at that. I didn't get away with much. I wasn't a great student. I was, found this thing that I really love. And there were some people that really picked me up along the way. I think that, now that I have this family, it's a profound joy. I get to see my kids grow and flourish. And I can't believe the life that I have now, man. It's like I'm blown away by it. And I'm just extraordinarily grateful.
There's an incredible video on your Instagram of, I think it's your little boy shooting like threes on a playground with you guys. It's just unbelievable. Like, I don't know how he looks like. He's like, 6, 7, and he's got the long hair and he's draining threes with grown men. Right. Yeah. But when I watched that video, what I saw is this like spirit of positivity. And what I've seen around you, and really around a number of the few actors that I know and creatives that I know that are truly successful, a lot of times, their talent is great. They're good looking. There's a lot of other good looking people, whatever, but there's a part of them where people root for them that makes the difference. And I've seen this, with our friend Teddy and so many other people who are good people, the people who are putting in the work, the people who are not assholes, like tend to do better because people are rooting for them. And it might be somebody gives them an opportunity, so I'm going to give it to this guy because I'm rooting for him. But now I see you rooting for others. And that's a really powerful energy that is contagious. And I'm grateful for as a friend. And I see in everything we do and everything you do. You did a lot of charity work with your brother. You care about Pitbulls. You did work with the USO. You continue to give back. Is there anything in that space you want to talk about or share with folks that you want to put on their radar, or anything that you're working on in the future that you're excited about or you want to look toward?
Yeah, look, I think that, listen, I think that, I'm during the, it kind of goes into what we were talking about before, but I think that, like during the pandemic, one of the things that, really did hit me was, being so far away and being so isolated up here in Ojai, I had a real strong desire to be out there on the streets and show my support in the protest for George Floyd. I thought what we saw there, I remember, I felt the frustration and the indignity and the horror when after the Rodney King video and after the acquittal, I felt that it was a palpable kind of part of my upbringing. And when George Floyd happened, I just really wanted to be out on the streets. I think something also happened at the same time, that when I saw in the protests, I saw, people throwing bottles at police officers and police officers trying to hold the line. And again, I have so many connections to law enforcement, and to me, each one of those people in a mask was somebody with a family, and I was so conflicted. And it was really important to me that if I was out on the streets protesting, I would also have to go in and visit my friends at Newton Division, go visit my friends at Southwestern. I would have to do those as well. So one of the things that I'm doing now is, again, I believe that because we are so far apart on so many of these issues, and we're listening to these kind of talking heads and these people that, again, just talk the talk but never walked it. I believe that people actually in the middle of things, people who are actually on the front lines, when they have experience with each other, I really believe that people who live in these neighborhoods and the cops that police these neighborhoods, I really feel like there's a lot more connectivity than people imagine. And I think that we're a lot closer than people would ever understand. So one of the things that I've started to do is I've brought on community organizers, ex-gang members, guys together with cops to come in and talk about these issues and sit down and have a meal together and sit down and talk about it one-on-one. And it's been staggering. It's been unbelievable. It's been unbelievable because they're laughing at the same things. They respect the same things. They're scared of the same things. They're so much closer than people would ever imagine. And I think it's the people sort of sniping from afar who have no experience with each other. They're the ones that are really causing the division, saying, come over to my side, even though I've never really walked on this side. And I think, I'm just trying to focus on these folks in the middle where experience is sort of what's common, because I really believe that empathy comes out of experience.
I think that empathy and that connection is what makes you a great artist and a great leader. I got some gifts for you and some other things, but I got to ask you, you posted about this because speaking about empathy and pain, there's a lot going on. Afghanistan, we're pulling out right now. DMX died, and DMX had a huge impact on my life, and I think in many ways expressed pain. Do you want to share any thoughts or reflections on the passing of a legend?
Look, man, you said it, passing of a legend, dude. I mean, that guy, he shaped, I think we come in that pocket of time where that just, you know what I mean? How many rough times that guy got us through, how many times that we needed to overcome something, you turn that on, man, how much his music has served me and again, just the spirit, authenticity, just straight vitality, man. What an artist. And again, a guy who, let's not define him by his mistakes, somebody who persevered, somebody who pushed on, and a real unbelievable unique voice and a real loss.
And there's something about DMX where it's almost beyond the words. It appeals to a part of your inner energy, right? And it expresses things in ways that you can't express yourself. And that's what great art does. That's what so much of your work does. I am really grateful for you. I wish we could do this in person. I got to give you some gifts virtually. All right. We got angry. I keep calling it angry. Independent Americans gear is coming. This is not actually it, but I'm going to send it to you in Ohio. We got coffee mugs. We got hats. We got cool shirts now. That's coming your way. You can wear it when you guys are shooting hoops or doing whatever it is you guys do up in Camp Ohio, which I love, by the way. You got it going on, man. Because I just recently got to the mountains and I'm kind of aspiring to be Camp Bernthal.
Where are you?
We're in upstate New York. I'm in an undisclosed.
I didn't know.
But I am in the mountains and I aspire to create and build what you have. And then I'm going to send you can give it to somebody else. You can give it to one of your friends, but the Uncle Nearest is coming your way. We still have the Peeps question. I can't have you on and not have you. You're a fan of the show. You've been listening for a long time. We just passed Easter. Jon Bernthal, blue, yellow, or pink? Which one?
Man, I don't mess with them, man.
Gotta pick a color. Then pick a color.
Man. I know that's it. I gotta go. I'll go blue, man. I'll go blue.
Why blue?
Just from the youngest, I love that specific color of blue. Makes me happy. I'll just be honest. It makes me happy.
I love it. You wore number 20 when you played football. Was that because of anyone in particular? I saw you posted some old pictures with Thornell and the crew and were you a running back? What did you play?
No, I was a tight end, outside linebacker.
Wearing number 20.
Wearing number 20. Yeah, my girlfriend at the time was, I think you might have known her, Tati Lamia.
Shit, yeah. That
was my high school girlfriend. So she was 85. And so remember, we used to do everything with pagers. So we would write 8520, and so everything. And then I lost my jersey and I took a younger kid's and I wore 21 for a little bit. That was bad. I got a lot of trouble for that.
Well, you wore 20, 420's coming up. We talked about a lot of other things. But I just want to end by saying I am grateful for you, man. You are an important voice for this country. You're a role model. You're a great American success story. You're a guy that everybody in America should be rooting for. If they're not, you represent the best of us and you're doing things the right way. And I'm grateful for your friendship, but most of all for your example. You're somebody that I can turn to my kids and say, hey, look at this guy. Look what he's doing. He's doing the right thing and he's doing it the right way and he's giving back. And I'm just rooting for you, man. I'm really grateful for you and rooting for you every day. And I'm grateful for so much time and wanting to have you on the show for a long time. And I hope you'll come back again.
100%, man. I really appreciate you too, man. I feel the exact same way, Paul. Thank you.
And until then, I will leave you with stay frosty and stay vigilant.
Sure. Right back at you.
All right, man. I'm going to go call Teddy and the crew now and tell them.
Give him my love, okay?
Yeah, man. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jon Bernthal. He is a truly independent American, an awesome guy. I'm honored to consider him a friend, and I can't wait to see all the cool things he's going to do next. I hope he joins us for a new conversation coming up in the next couple of weeks. Next week, we will have new conversations, more guests. We will continue to stay focused on all the issues we've covered. If you haven't heard some of our recent episodes, go back and hear Jim Vanderhey, the founder of Axios, on media and leadership and fatherhood. Asher Rangappa, the brilliant military scholar and former FBI agent who will break down the legalities of what's happening with Trump and especially his attacks on the 6 Democrats who put together the video. We talked to Admiral Bill McRaven, one of the clearest voices on leadership, on patriotism, and one of the strongest critics of all that's happening out of the White House that I think is crossing a dangerous line, and many other folks. Lots of conversations that have really been pushing the envelope here from the independent candidates we talked to, like John Thorpe, who's running for election just next week. We've had Republicans like Mike Lawler, Democrats like Seth Moulton. Go back and check out the archives. If you don't already, follow us on YouTube. Our YouTube numbers are way up. And just by hitting subscribe and sharing it, you can support this show and check out all the archives of cool conversations with folks like Mick Foley, the WWE wrestler, or the great Sarah Jessica Parker. They're all there on our YouTube page, and you can check them out. And if you want to help the show as well, go to independentamericans.us, buy some merch. It's the holiday season. It's Black Friday. Go get some IA merch that you can put under the Christmas tree or give out at Hanukkah, whatever your holiday is, to give people a dose in the arm of some independence. We're going to keep bringing it. New conversations next week. Please let me know what you think of the new format, the daily format, and all the stuff we're cooking. Follow me on all the social media profiles. And I hope you get to enjoy this weekend after what's been a lot. I'll be back on Monday with new shows. We're also, I don't know if I told you, we're on TikTok. We're getting cooking over there and on Blue Sky and everywhere else. I hope you enjoyed some time with your loved ones. And if you didn't and you were isolated, reach out. No, there is a community here, especially at Independent Americans, that has your back. If you enjoyed this episode with Jon Bernthal, share it far and wide and invite others to declare their independence, especially this holiday season. And stay vigilant, my friends, because eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. And hope. Hope is still out there. Hope is in all of us, and hope is the oxygen of our democracy. We're going to need it this holiday season, and we're going to need it to end what has been a very, very wild year. No, you're not alone in your vigilance. We're all vigilant, and we're all in this together, especially in the community around this show. I'm thankful to all of you. I will see you back here on Monday. I hope you have a great weekend. And until next time, stay vigilant, America. Stay vigilant. Happy Friday.
Powered by Righteous Media.